Imagine this. Bombs are falling, chaos erupts, and the grocery store shelves are empty. You rush home, and all you've got is rice and beans. Will that be enough to survive? In nearly every major war zone, food supply chains collapse in just 3 days, and supermarkets are completely wiped out in 48 hours. That's not a theory, that's a documented fact. When war hits, or even just a major blackout or civil unrest, food isn't just expensive, it disappears. Supply trucks stop, prices skyrocket, and families are left scrambling. But what if I told you there are 12 grocery store items, each one dirt cheap, that could literally keep you alive for weeks or even months? These aren't luxury foods or freeze-dried kits, but they're everyday items hiding in plain sight with years of shelf life, high calories, and real survival power. In this video, we're breaking down exactly which foods to grab before it's too late, and why they could mean the difference between going hungry and staying alive. Let's get into it. Let's start with a survival classic. Item 1, white rice. Now, I know what you're thinking. Rice? Really? But here's the thing. In a crisis, white rice isn't just food. It's fuel, it's stability, it's survival. A 20-pound bag of white rice costs around $9 to $10, and if stored properly, in a sealed bucket or Mylar bag with oxygen absorbers, it can last up to 30 years. That's right, 3 decades of shelf life for less than the price of a fast food meal. According to preppers on Reddit and emergency food experts, it's one of the most cost-efficient sources of calories on Earth. You're looking at around 1,300 to 1,600 calories per dollar. When war hits, calories matter more than flavor, and rice delivers. In a big way, it's versatile, fills you up fast, and pairs with just about anything else in your pantry. Let me tell you, I still remember someone on Reddit sharing how during the Ukraine conflict, all they had left was rice and canned beans. They said, "We got so sick of eating it, but it kept us alive." Because here's the truth. When you can't get bread, pasta, or fresh food, rice becomes your entire kitchen. It becomes your routine, your survival plan, so don't overlook it. Stock it, seal it, and know that when things get bad, white rice could keep you alive longer than you think. Item 2, dry beans, lentils, protein. Now let's talk about something that doesn't get nearly enough credit: dry beans and lentils. In a real crisis, when meat is gone and canned food is drying up, beans are your lifeline. And I'm not just saying that. According to food security studies, protein deficiency becomes a major threat just 2 weeks into a supply chain collapse. Without access to meat or eggs, your body starts breaking down muscle to survive. That's where beans step in. They're packed with protein, loaded with fiber, and they store for years when kept dry. Reddit users in prepper communities call them an absolute godsend, and for good reason. One person shared how, during a winter power outage, their entire family lived off beans and rice for 12 days. No fridge, no takeout, just 2 buckets and a camping stove. And here's the best part: they're dirt cheap. An 8-pound bag of pinto beans, around $6. That's enough for dozens of meals and thousands of calories. Beans are more than survival food. They're security in a bag. You can boil them, stew them, mash them, or just throw them in with rice and hope for the best. Flavor, maybe not gourmet, but like one Redditor joked, turn plain rice into bean stew, flavor or not, at least it fills the hole in your stomach. Because when things fall apart, you'll be shocked how grateful you are for something so simple and so powerful. Item 3, oats, oatmeal. If there's one item that quietly flies under the radar in every survival pantry, it's oats. But don't let the simplicity fool you. Oats are a powerhouse when it comes to staying alive during a crisis. Here's the reality. During war or disaster, hot meals become rare and breakfast practically non-existent. That's where oats shine. They're cheap, fast, filling, and incredibly nutritious. Just half a cup of dry oats gives you 150 calories, complex carbs, and fiber that helps you stay full longer, which is vital when you're rationing food. Even better? Oats last up to 30 years if stored properly in a sealed container. That's not just convenient, that's survival insurance. In fact, organizations like FEMA and the Prepared list oats as a core staple in long-term emergency food kits, and they're not just good for your stomach, they're good for morale. When the world feels cold and chaotic, even a simple bowl of warm oatmeal can make you feel human again. One Quora user who lived through extended power outages during conflict said, "Waking up to warm oats felt like we still had a bit of normal life left." The best part, a large container of rolled oats costs under $3 and you can eat it with just water if you have to. Item 4, cooking oil and peanut butter. Here's something most people forget. Fat keeps you alive, not just full, alive. When food supplies break down, most of us focus on carbs and protein, but your body also needs healthy fats to stay energized, think clearly, and keep your immune system running. Without it, you start breaking down faster than you think. That's where cooking oil and peanut butter come in. They're not just condiments, they're survival essentials. Let's start with oil. A single tablespoon of vegetable oil gives you around 120 calories. That's dense energy in a tiny dose. When you're short on food, every calorie matters. Fry up some rice, stir into beans, or even drizzle on dry oats. It's not about taste anymore, it's about fuel. Now, peanut butter, that's the real MVP. Shelf stable, no cooking required, loaded with fat, protein, and calories. A 2 tablespoon serving gives you nearly 200 calories, and in a pinch, it's a complete mini meal. According to prepping experts on The Prepared and wheelofprepping.com, both oil and peanut butter rank in the top 10 emergency foods because of their long shelf life, high energy output, and versatility. And Reddit preppers swear by it. One user said, "I'd trade a can of soup for a jar of peanut butter any day in a blackout." So if you're building a survival stash, don't skip the fat. Stock oils, stack peanut butter. Because when meat and dairy are gone, this is what keeps your body and your brain running. Item 5, canned meat and fish, tuna, chicken, sardines. Here's something nobody wants to think about, but you have to. In a full-scale crisis, fresh meat is the first thing to disappear. No refrigeration, no grocery deliveries, just empty shelves and spoiled food. But protein, your body still needs it. And without it, you're not just hungry, you're weak, vulnerable. That's where canned meats and fish come in. And trust me, they're not just backup food, they're lifesavers in a metal can. According to The Prepared and multiple emergency nutrition experts, protein deficiency becomes dangerous in as little as 7 to 10 days during a crisis. Your body starts burning muscle for energy. That means slower healing, higher risk of illness, and total exhaustion. But a simple can of tuna or chicken, that can give you up to 20 grams of protein. No stove, no fridge, just a can opener. Sardines too, full of omega-3s, healthy fats, and calcium, and they last for 3 to 5 years on the shelf. During the war in Syria, studies showed families relied on canned fish and meat as their primary source of protein for months, often eating it just once a day to ration supplies. That's how serious this gets. So no, it's not glamorous, but when real food is gone, this is your main course. Don't stock up on candy and comfort food. Stock meat in a can, because when everything falls apart, this tiny can could be the strongest thing in your kitchen. 6, canned vegetables and fruits. Here's a terrifying truth. In a long-term crisis, you won't see a fresh vegetable for weeks, maybe even months. When the power's out, roads are blocked, and supply trucks stop rolling, the produce section at your local store is the first thing to vanish. And without fresh fruits or veggies, your body starts breaking down from the inside out. That's where canned vegetables and fruits become essential. We're not talking about side dishes here. We're talking about life-sustaining nutrition. Your body needs vitamins like A, C, and K to fight infections, keep your immune system strong, and heal wounds. But here's the shocking part. According to the USDA, millions of Americans already don't get enough of these nutrients, even in normal times. Now imagine trying to survive a war or blackout without them. Canned green beans, corn, carrots, spinach, these aren't just extras, they're critical survival food. And fruit? Even more important, canned peaches, pears, pineapple. They give you natural sugars, quick energy, and essential hydration. And the shelf life, 2 to 5 years depending on the brand. Some even longer if stored in a cool, dry space. Reddit survival threads often say, stock what you'll eat. But when it comes to vegetables and fruit, stock more than you think you'll need. Because when the fresh stuff disappears, this might be the only thing standing between you and vitamin deficiency. Don't wait until you feel weak. Prepare now. Item 7, dried fruit and nuts, trail mix. Let me paint you a picture most people never think about. You've been without power for 10 days. Your water's limited. You're rationing canned beans and rice, meal by miserable meal. Your body's slowing down, and then it hits you. You're not just tired, you're crashing. Why? Because you're out of quick energy. Your brain is foggy, your muscles ache, and you'd trade your last candle for something sweet, something salty, anything real. This is where dried fruit and nuts, or even just a bag of trail mix, can make the difference between staying functional and breaking down. People think of trail mix as a hiking snack, but in survival mode, it becomes your portable energy reserve. Just a handful of mixed nuts and dried fruit packs a punch, healthy fats, protein, potassium, and natural sugars, everything your body craves when you're in a low-calorie spiral. Here's what's scary. According to a study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, even mild nutrient deficiencies can start impairing brain function and mood within 72 hours of restricted calorie intake. Think about that. You're not just getting tired, you're becoming slower, more forgetful, and emotionally unstable. And yet, a single bag of trail mix, the kind you can get at any grocery store for a few bucks, can provide over 1,000 calories, long shelf life, and no prep needed. That's food you can carry in your coat pocket, food that doesn't rot, food that brings back just enough strength to keep moving. One Redditor shared a chilling account. During Hurricane Ida, their town was locked down, no stores, no fuel, no aid. All they had left after 5 days was rice, peanut butter, and a stash of almonds and dried bananas. They said, "It sounds crazy, but that fruit was like medicine. We were exhausted, and it woke us up, gave us the will to keep going." It's easy to overlook this stuff when you're focused on survival staples. But in real crisis scenarios, when you're cold, weak, and losing your grip, a single handful of dried fruit could be the boost that keeps you going another day. Stock it, hide it, don't tell anyone you have it, because when food vanishes and spirits collapse, this is what might save you from giving up. Item 8, powdered milk, dry milk. Now here's one most people never even consider, powdered milk. Sounds boring, right? But let me ask you something terrifying. What happens when there's no milk, no dairy, and no clean water? For weeks, during wartime or a major disaster, infants, children, and the elderly suffer first, not from violence, but from malnutrition. Without access to dairy, they're missing calcium, vitamin D, and essential proteins. And the worst part, you don't even notice the damage until it's too late. According to the World Health Organization, calcium deficiency can cause muscle spasms, confusion, and even heart complications. And it happens faster when you're already weak, dehydrated, and stressed, like you would be during war. That's why powdered milk isn't optional. It's critical. Just 1 cup of reconstituted powdered milk provides 8 grams of protein, calcium, magnesium, and vital B vitamins. It's shelf-stable for up to 20 years when stored properly, and FEMA lists it as a core emergency food item in their survival guidelines. And here's the kicker. In areas struck by long-term disaster, like Syria and parts of Ukraine, powdered milk became one of the most traded and valuable items, more valuable than rice, more valuable than water at times. Why? Because when you're feeding a child, boiling dry beans doesn't cut it, but a scoop of powdered milk mixed with clean water, that's life-saving nutrition in a glass. Even for adults, this stuff becomes more than just a drink. You can use it to make soups creamier, turn oats into porridge, or even just boost calories in whatever slop you've scraped together. One Reddit user shared how, during a 2-week lockdown, powdered milk helped stretch their food, turning watery rice into something almost comforting. Now imagine the people who don't have it. Parents forced to feed toddlers plain rice for days, elderly neighbors whose bones are already brittle. Malnutrition doesn't show up in a headline, it shows up in the quiet, slow breaking down of the body. So if you're prepping smart, don't skip this one. Powdered milk may not look like much, but when dairy is gone and supplies are cut off, this white powder becomes liquid gold. Item 9, textured vegetable protein, TVP, and lentil-based meat substitutes. All right, this one sounds technical, maybe even weird, but hear me out. Textured vegetable protein, or TVP, could be one of the most powerful survival foods you've never heard of. Because in a real collapse, where meat is gone, power is down, and canned goods are running dry, TVP becomes your meat without the meat. It's made from soy flour, packed with protein, low in fat, cheap, and almost never spoils. In fact, when stored in a sealed container with oxygen absorbers, TVP can last 15 to 20 years. That's longer than most people's careers, and the numbers don't lie. Just half a cup of dry TVP gives you over 20 grams of protein. That's the same as a full chicken breast, and unlike real meat, it doesn't rot, doesn't need freezing, and costs just pennies per serving. Here's what's scary. According to the Global Food Security Report, protein shortages become life-threatening within 2 to 3 weeks in war zones or disaster areas. When people can't get protein, their muscles begin to waste, their immune systems collapse, and even simple infections become deadly. Now imagine having a 5-pound bag of this stuff hidden in your pantry, and nobody else on your street does. That's the kind of quiet advantage that keeps your family alive, when others are collapsing from hunger. And no, it doesn't taste like steak. But when you mix TVP into beans, rice, soups, or even pasta, it takes on flavor fast and adds real bite. Preppers on Reddit rave about it. One wrote, "It's like cheating the system. Everyone's struggling to find meat, and I've got 3 months' worth in a bucket." TVP isn't glamorous, it doesn't look cool on your shelf, but if you're serious about prepping for war, famine, or collapse, it's a no-brainer. It fills the protein gap, stretches your meals, and gives your body what it needs to keep going when everything else fails. Don't skip it, because when the protein disappears from the world, you'll be the only one who still has meat. Item 10. Crackers, pasta, instant noodles. Let's talk about something simple, but critical. Crackers, pasta, and instant noodles. Now, these might sound like snacks or comfort food, and in normal times they are. But during a war, during a blackout that lasts for weeks, these cheap carbs turn into emergency lifelines. Here's why your body needs quick, burnable energy when it's in crisis mode. Fat gives you fuel, protein repairs your body, but carbs keep you moving. Without them, you crash. Fast. According to the World Food Program, during conflict and disaster relief, refined carbs like pasta and crackers are among the first foods distributed to civilians. Why? Because they're lightweight, calorie-dense, cheap to produce, and can be cooked or eaten with almost nothing. A pack of instant noodles, that's 350 to 400 calories, salt and fat, everything your body craves when it's cold and starving. A box of pasta can stretch into 4 to 5 meals, especially when mixed with canned goods. And crackers, they're a no-cook survival snack, good for 6 to 9 months sealed, and often the only solid food people have during lockdowns or refugee conditions. Now here's the chilling part. During the early weeks of the war in Ukraine, humanitarian groups reported that crackers and noodles were traded on the black market at 5 to 10x their retail price. Not because they were fancy, but because they were familiar, filling, and didn't need much to prepare. One Reddit user from a conflict zone said, "We'd split one pack of ramen 4 ways, not because we were full, but because we were out of options." These foods aren't glamorous, but they're survivable. They keep spirits up. They stretch whatever else you have. And when you're cold, hungry, and mentally exhausted, just the smell of warm noodles can remind you what it feels like to be safe. So stock them. Don't just grab rice and beans. Pick up the pasta, the instant ramen, the crackers, because when you're trapped indoors, boiling water over a candle, this is what gets you through the night. Item 11, canned soups, broth, and spaghetti sauce. Now let's talk about something that seems small until you realize how much you'll miss it. Canned soups, broths, and spaghetti sauce. When you're stuck in a disaster zone with nothing but dry rice, beans, and oats, eating becomes a chore. A punishment even. And eventually that kills more than your appetite, it kills your morale. But a can of soup, a little broth, suddenly you're not just surviving, you're coping. Here's what people don't understand. In survival situations, mental fatigue is just as dangerous as physical hunger. According to the CDC and multiple crisis response studies, low morale leads to poor decision-making, risk-taking, and even giving up when resources run low. Enter canned soup. It's ready to eat. No effort, no prep, just heat it or eat it cold if you have to. It gives you hydration, salt, calories, and, most importantly, flavor. That's something rice and beans alone will never offer. And then there's broth. People underestimate it, but broth is survival gold. It hydrates, it adds warmth, it transforms bland, dry food into something tolerable. One bouillon cube or spoon of canned broth can turn a pot of boiled lentils into a real meal. Spaghetti sauce too, so it's not just for pasta. Mix it with rice, pour it over beans, even eat it on crackers. That tomato flavor, it gives your brain a sense of normal, a reminder that life used to be okay and might be again. Red Cross relief workers often report that people who have flavorful, familiar foods are more likely to maintain mental clarity and emotional resilience during long-term crises. One volunteer said, "Sometimes a warm bowl of soup was the only reason someone got out of bed." That's the power of these canned items. They're not just food. They're psychological armor. So don't skip them. Stock up on hearty soups, add broth to your pantry, grab a few jars of spaghetti sauce, because when you've eaten plain rice for 10 days straight, a little flavor might be the one thing that keeps you from breaking. Item 12, salt, spices, and sugar. Let me ask you something most people never consider. What does survival taste like without salt, spices, or sugar? Answer, it tastes like despair. Sounds dramatic? It's not. When food becomes scarce and meals get repetitive, bland rice, dry beans, plain oats, your body might stay alive, but your mind starts slipping. Now here's the shocking part. According to medical research, loss of appetite is one of the first signs of starvation even when food is technically available. If meals taste too bland for too long, people, especially kids and the elderly, simply stop eating enough. Not out of choice, out of exhaustion. That's where salt, spice, and sugar come in. These aren't luxuries. In a crisis, they are psychological stabilizers and nutritional boosters that make survival food edible again. Salt does more than flavor your food. It's essential for hydration, muscle function, and preserving other foods. Just a few pounds of iodized salt can last years and cost less than $1. Spices? They're not just for taste. Cayenne can boost circulation. Garlic powder and turmeric have anti-inflammatory benefits. Even just black pepper can make a pot of bland lentils taste almost decent. And sugar? It's quick energy, a mood booster, and a key ingredient for homemade electrolyte drinks. In survival shelters during major disasters, sugar was often traded like medicine. One prepping guide even refers to it as a high-value morale item. One Reddit user recalled being snowed in without power for over 2 weeks. They had oats and powdered milk, but no salt or sugar. They wrote, "By day 7, we were choking it down. By day 10, we couldn't eat it anymore." That's what happens when the food keeps you alive, but mentally wears you down. So if you're prepping smart, don't overlook the little things. A few dollars worth of salt, spices, and sugar could be the difference between making it through or giving up. Because survival isn't just about calories, it's about staying sane. And sometimes that tiny pinch of salt is the only thing that reminds you you're still human. So let's bring it all together. We've covered 12 dirt cheap grocery items, things you can grab right now from any store that could literally save your life during war, economic collapse, or long-term disaster. These aren't luxury goods. They're not overpriced survival kits. They're basic, affordable, and deadly effective when everything else disappears. Because here's the truth nobody wants to say out loud. When the trucks stop running, the stores shut down, and the power's out, you're on your own. According to FEMA, the average American household has less than 3 days of food on hand, and in most conflicts around the world, supply chains collapse within 72 hours. That's it. After that, the shelves are bare, the lines are endless, and the prices double, if there's anything left to buy at all. And in that moment, it's not money that feeds you. It's what you already have in your pantry. So let me ask you, if everything went dark tomorrow, would your kitchen keep you alive? Because for less than the price of one dinner out, you can build a stockpile that lasts months. With rice, beans, oats, peanut butter, canned protein, simple carbs, powdered milk, and a few forgotten basics like salt and broth, you can survive almost anything. But only if you act now, not later, not when things are already breaking down. Stock smart, stay ahead, and don't be the one begging for bread when it's too late. If this video opened your eyes, smash that like button, drop a comment, which of these 12 items surprised you the most, and subscribe right now because the next video could be the one that prepares you for what's coming next. You don't have to live in fear, but you do have to be ready.